Hey guys, welcome to Unit 8. These are our Day 1 notes. I'm going to work numbers 1 through 8 with you guys. Numbers 1 and 2 are just our warm-up, so go ahead. Hopefully you've done those. These are just combining like terms, so you'll see here that I already have them done. Remember, we're looking for the things that are like terms in order to add them together. So number 1 comes out to be 10n plus 4. And on number 2, we need to make sure that we take this negative right here, and we have to distribute it to both those pieces inside the parentheses before we can actually combine our like terms. So we're thinking through order of operations, which says we have to multiply before we can add and subtract. So when we do that, we're going to combine the 3r cubed minus 7r cubed to get a negative 4r cubed. And we can take the minus r minus 5r and get a negative or minus 6r. Okay. So now to move into the actual lesson for today, we're going to talk about multiplying our polynomials together. So earlier in the school year, we did these simple multiplications where we are taking something on the outside of the parentheses and we multiply it with what's on the inside. So just a refresher for number 1, we're going to take this 2 and multiply it by 3x. So 2 times 3 is 6, and x times no other x is just still going to be that single x. Okay. Number 2, I actually have a coefficient and a variable that I'm going to multiply. So when I multiply this together, I multiply the coefficients with the coefficients. So I get a negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. And then I'm going to multiply the x times the x. Well, x times x, that means I have 2 x's now. So we notate that with a square. That says I have 2 x's, x times x. So negative 8x squared. Okay. When we look down here at number 3, the only thing that's changing is now we have a plus sign inside of our parentheses. So that just means we have to actually distribute. Okay, remember, distribute means to take the 3 and multiply it to both pieces inside the parentheses. So 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times 4 is a positive 12. So I get 3x plus 12. If I had 2 terms being added together in here, I should be ending with 2 terms being added together here. On number 4, we're going to take this negative 5 and we're going to distribute it to both pieces inside the parentheses. So negative 5 times 2x is negative 10x. And a negative 5 times a negative 3, remember, negative times negative is now positive. 5 times 3 is 15. So we get a negative 10x plus 15. Okay, so that is what we did first semester. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take those, we're going to make them a little bit more complicated. Okay. So what does it mean if there is no plus or minus between the set of parentheses? Kind of like our warm-up had a plus or minus between the parentheses. Now these, like 5 and 6, they don't have any sign between those parentheses. So what does that mean to us? It means that we are going to multiply. Okay, and there are 2 methods that I like to use. I like to either distribute or I like to use something called a box. And I'm going to show you both methods just so you see the difference, and you can use whichever one you are most comfortable with. So on number 5, I'm going to do distribute. So we all know that distribute means I'm going to take something and multiply it to everything in a set of parentheses. So here, I actually have 2 things that I need to distribute. I have the 3x we need to distribute. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to multiply 3x by everything in the second set of parentheses. So 3x times 2x is 6x squared. 3x times negative 5 is negative 15x. Now we're going to do the same thing with the 4. So I'm going to say 4 times 2x, well, that is a positive 8x. And 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. Now I have this polynomial here, and if you look carefully, you'll notice that these 2 middle terms here are like terms. So we want to finish simplifying this by combining. So 6x squared negative 15x plus 8x is negative 7x minus 20. Okay, there are no like terms left, so we can stop there. Okay. Number 6, we are going to do a box on this one. Okay, a box is just as simple as it sounds. I am going to make a box. How big of a box? Well, if I have a binomial, that means 2 terms, times another binomial, 2 more terms, that means I need a 2 by 2 box. So I'm going to make myself a box here, and I need it to have 2 rows and 2 columns. So I've made myself a 2 by 2. I want to take this first binomial and I want to put it down the left-hand side. So I'm going to put the x here and the plus 4 here. Then we're going to take the second binomial and we're going to put it across the top of the box. So I'm going to put the 2x here and the minus 3 here. Simply what we're going to do now is we're going to multiply, that's what we're doing with this operation, to get the number inside the box. So I'm going to take the x on the left and multiply it by the 2x on the top to get 2x squared. Then I'm going to take the x on the left and multiply it by the negative 3 and get a negative 3x. Then we're going to take the 4 and multiply it by the 2x to get 8x, and then the 4 times the negative 3 to get a negative 12. If you look at what we did, we essentially just took the x and multiplied it by both of those pieces, except we wrote it inside the box. Okay, then we took the 4 and multiplied it by both of those pieces and put them in the bottom boxes. Now, to get the information out of the box, I need to combine like terms. So you'll notice here, my like terms happen to be on the diagonal. Okay? That is a very common thing. They usually should be diagonal to each other if they are going to be there. So we have 2x squared, and we always write it biggest exponent first. 8x minus 3x is a positive 5x, and then minus 12. So that is its simplest form. Okay. Now, on number 7 and number 8 here, I am actually going to do a box on number 7. Okay, this one's kind of different because this is a binomial times a trinomial. So I have 2 terms times 3 terms. So I actually need a 2 by 3 box this time. So that means I need 2 down the left-hand side, but 3 across the top. So there's my 3 going across the top and my 2 going down the side. All right? So I'm going to take the 8x from the binomial and the positive 6. And across the top, I'm going to take the 5x squared minus 2x plus 1. Now we're going to multiply to get the numbers inside the box. So we've got 8x times 5x squared. So this is 40, 8 times 5, and x times x squared. Now I have 3 x's, so x cubed. 8x times negative 2x is going to be a negative 16x squared. And 8x times 1 is a positive 8x. Please don't forget the sign in front of each of those number pieces, because if you don't have the sign, you don't know when you combine the like terms whether it's supposed to be positive or negative. Okay? The next row down, we've got a 6, a positive 6 times a 5x squared. So this is going to be the 30x squared. 6 times negative 2x is negative 12x. And 6 times 1 is the positive 6. Now remember what I said on the last one. My like terms should be diagonal to each other. Here, we actually have 2 sets of like terms. Okay? So when we bring our like terms out of the box, I always start with my biggest exponent. So 40x cubed. 30x squared minus 16x squared is going to be positive 14x squared. Negative 12x plus 8x is negative 4x, and then plus 6. Okay. Now number 8 actually looks a little bit different. So it says 3x minus 4 squared. So hopefully we all remember what that squared tells us. It tells us we multiply it by itself. So I like to rewrite this. 3x minus 4 multiplied by itself, 3x minus 4. Okay? So now I can see that I have two binomials being multiplied together. And what I'm going to do on this one, I'm going to distribute. So I'm going to take 3x times 3x, 9x squared, 3x times negative 4, negative 12x. Now, I am also going to do the negative 4 times 3x, so negative 12x, and the negative 4 times negative 4, positive 16. Notice my like terms are here in the middle, so 9x squared minus 24x plus 16. Okay, numbers 9 through 14 you should be able to do. Go ahead and work on those, and I will show you the answers in just a second. All right, here is the answers to numbers 9, 10, 11, and 12. Numbers 9 and 11, I did distribution. Numbers 10 and 12, I did a box just so you could see the difference, whichever way you're most comfortable with. Feel free to do it that way. On number 12 and number 10, please make sure your bottom box here, you are multiplying the outside numbers together to get that number in the box. Please do not accidentally add or subtract those together. You'll notice that those would actually go to 0 if you added or subtracted. We don't want to do that, so please be careful. If you haven't done 13 and 14, go ahead and do 13 and 14 now, and I'll show you the answers in just a second. All right, and here is the answers to 13 and 14. 13, I went ahead and rewrote it, 4x minus 3 times 4x minus 3, and I did distribution. Number 14, I drew myself a 2 by 3 box because it's a binomial times a trinomial, and then I multiplied together combined like terms.